it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Well, today is Eddie Van Halen's birthday. So I thought his first birthday, obviously, after without him on this earth. But I thought a good way to honor him would be to release a lesson for Amsterdam, which is the town that he was born in. So this is a fun song off of Balance. This is so great. It's just the coolest riff, very unique, of course, as always with Eddie, and just a lot of fun to play. So I hope you guys will enjoy this little tribute to him on his birthday. Well, you might not be watching it on his birthday. It could be years down the road, but this was released on his birthday. All right, so before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and ring that notification bell so you'll know when I release a new video. And please, check out my Guitar Academy. You'll see the link in the description below. Now, my Guitar Academy is the best way to support all the stuff I do here on YouTube. So if you just like the song lessons or whatever, that's great. This is a great way to keep those going as well. But if you're a member of my academy, you get full access to all of my guitar courses as well, which are complete courses on like beginner courses, more advanced courses on technique and improvisation and ear training, theory, guitar tone, you name it. So please go check it out. You get a free 7-day trial by using the link below. So let's get going on this. I'm in drop D here, so standard tuned guitar, but the low E string turned down to D. And that will get you where you need to be. Now we have this intro section, which has it's these really cool riffs. Sounds like this. All right, and then that takes us into the verse. So we're going to start here with this. So that starts at the second fret on the I'm going to call it the low E, or whatever. So it's a D string, obviously. So we're going to play your second fret on the low E string, then 2, 4, 5, 6. Then over to 2 on the A string, and then 2 on the D, and let that ring. All right, now from there, the first time you play it, you're not gonna have anything in between the riffs here. And then the second half of the riff is this. So that is gonna start with the low E open. Again, I know it's a D string, but we're gonna call it low E, just so we won't confuse people. So 0, 2, 3, 4, that low E, then open A, and open D. So after that second one there, then you're going to do some of those, just taking the side of your palm, do a couple just down, up, down, up, down, up with it. So we have this. So I'm kind of muting the strings down here and just kind of rubbing my hand across it. Then we go back to the first riff and do those mutes again. And then back to the second riff. And here we do this, which is just playing the second fret on the high E, hammer 3, pull back up to 2, pull off to the open, hit that again, and then hit the open B. So all together so far. All right, now continue with these riffs again. So right there's a little bit different kind of things going on in between instead of the little muted poem thing. So we have this, that same thing, right? But we jump up here now. There's a couple of muted hits just with a regular pick, and we have this. We're gonna play this 9th fret on the D and 9th fret on the G and the B together. And then we're gonna go to the next double stop is gonna be the 7th fret on the G and 10th fret on the B. So there's a couple of muted hits around that. So we have this. And then back to the lower version of the riff. And then back to this kind of the same lick we did before. Except he starts it here and he does it most of the time this way the rest of the song. He'll add that 3rd fret on the B string when you first hit it. So you're still doing that 2nd fret on the high E. Then do the hammer along, and then hit the open high E. So it's really the same as this, but just the first hit, add that 3rd fret on the B string with it. All right, then it repeats those riffs again. And then here, you kind of just stop when you get to that open high E, and then go right to an A power chord. This is kind of the end of the intro. And then from here, when you hit that A power chord, you hit it again, the open string, open A, and then we're going to start doing harmonics. We're going to tap harmonic. So that's after I hit this, I hit the chord and then hit the A string open by itself. Then I kind of move my pick over to this between, just kind of grip it with my middle finger there, those 2 joints in there. But obviously he's usually holding his pick with these, so he doesn't have to do that. But I'll switch it to there, and then, or you can use your middle finger to do the taps. But it's a tap harmonic at the 12th fret of the A string, open A, then a 7th, then 5, and then 4. So all together for the intro. All right, then we get to the verse. Now the first verse is twice as long as the second verse. So it looks like this, the first one. All right, so this first verse, like I said, is twice as long as the other one, and it's got a little bit different than the second verse, some of the endings there. So we're going to start here with the... this is a really cool lick. So this is some wide intervals, and he's choosing to do them all on just... He's not going... He's just choosing to go like that. So he's sliding to the 9th fret on the G, and then going back to the 4th fret on the G. Then slide to the, so it's just really an E major arpeggio that he's doing across these strings. Then you slide to the 11th fret on the A string. And then you go to the 7th fret on the A, hammer back onto that 11, pull back off the 7. So that goes down to a D power chord here at the 5th fret of the A string. So he kind of, the rhythm he does here is like 1, 2. So it's like 1, 2, a couple of muted hits. So I'm doing down, up, down, up. Kind of a muted down, up. And then, just like that. Then it's a couple of down ups on the low D, and then the power chord again a couple times. So I have this. Slower. Then move it up, slide it up to the E power chord, the 7th fret, and then we have this little. So that goes. It goes 9, 11 on the low E string, over to 7 on the 8th. And then you pull off 9 to 7 on the 8. Now, while he's picking a lot of these single note riffs, you can hear I'm kind of adding some pinch harmonics in there. So we have this. So he's adding those kind of freely throughout. So just keep in mind, you might want to kind of dig in on some of those notes. So we have the, and then slide up to 11, then over to 9 on the D, and then slide into 11 again, and then the same thing as before, hammer 7 to 11, pull back off to 7, and then back down to the D power chord. So we have this. From there, kind of the same. Now here, instead of going like that, the second time back through this riff, we do it like this. So that's the same thing leading up to it. So we have that 9, 11 on the low E, and then 7 on the A, I'm sorry. Then 9, 7, and then slide up to 11. And then over to 9 on the D, and then back to that 11. You pick it, slide up to 12, and back down to 11. He really has some pretty good pinch harmonic on that one too. And then back down to the D. So the same little rhythm there. So far we have this. After you do this little rhythm here, back on the D here after all that, then we kind of have the first ending to the, it's basically we're halfway through the first verse and there's like a little turnaround section that leads us back to repeating the verse again. So after this, so this. All right, so it's kind of some of that. So what's going on there? We play the 6th fret here on the low E string. Pretty heavy vibrato on it. Over to the A power chord, and then do that again. So, and then there's another kind of slide down, and then we have this. We have the D power chord, and then reach over with at the 2nd fret there with your thumb here and grab that 2nd fret on the low E string. And then back to that D power chord. And then you're going to end it with this. Which is pulling off 5 to 2 on the low E. And then go 5, 6, then 2 on the A, 2 on the D. So we have this. Then we start the riff, the verse over again, pretty much the same thing until the ending. Now right here, instead of going down to that, which was the first ending, kind of a halfway ending, we'll say that. Now we have this section, which looks like this. So coming out of that. So this little part right here, he does in the second verse as well, and it's slightly different, just a kind of a one-note difference to how he plays it in the second verse. So how he plays it in this first verse is he hits the open low E string, or obviously low D, along with the 9th fret on the A string. And then he goes to adds the 7th fret now on the low E string, while still holding that 9. So it's this very first part, which is a little bit different in the second. The second verse, he goes. It's a little bit different. We'll get there when we get there. But this first one, though, he holds that 9 and hits the open low E string, and then the 7th fret now, so it's just a normal power chord there, of the 7th fret of the low E string. And then hit that chord again. And now take that 9 on the A string down to 7. So now it's a bar across the A and the low E string, the 7th. So this. From here, we got a quick, it's really quick and hard to hear. It's just a quick 2-4 on the A string. And then hit the low E open with the 5th fret on the A. And then add that 5th fret on the low E with it now. Still playing that A on the 5th fret on the A string, and then over to the A power chord. So this ending looks like this. All right, so that's it for verse 1. It's the longest verse of the song. Now we get to the chorus, which looks like this. All right, so that right there is going to start with that you can. It's really the first time you hear it when you go into the riff. It almost sounds like there's some more muted. But we can kind of start the riff if you want, just how he plays it each time through, really, which is just with this big kind of A power chord. So we have this open A string. 2nd fret on the D and the G, and then 5th fret on the B and the high E. So then you go down to the 2nd fret on the low E real quick, and then back to that A power chord. So like this. Then we go over to the low E string, the 4th fret, and hit that a few times muted. And then we have that ending, so we have this. So we have 1, 2, 3, kind of on a lot of the upbeats. Like this. So that's the first hit. Kind of weird. And then the muted hits there on the 4 on the low E. And then quickly with, which is the quick A power chord. You can hit the 2nd fret on the D and the G together fine. You don't have to hit the open A every time. So we have this, we hit those 2 notes and then hit the low E real quick. And then the power chord, the 2 notes here, the 2nd fret on the D and the G again. And then the note you resolve it to this time, instead of being the open string, is the 2nd fret on the low E with a lot of vibrato on it. Just kind of let it sustain. So that timing of it here, so that first, whenever you hit that chord, it's very short. So I had this. Slower. Now, from there, sorry. So that's starting the 4th fret, moved up to 7, then 7 on the G, 7 on the B, back to 7 on the G, 7 on the D. Now slide up to 7 on the D. This is obviously palm muted. And then, as soon as you slide up there, you can do the bar again and pull off 10 to 9. So it is on the D string. I'm sorry, the B string. So it is. So that's. Repeat. Now, the 4th time through the riff here, when you get to that 2nd fret on the low E that you're kind of shaking there, from there to end this first chorus, he does this. So that's the 2nd fret on the low E, and then go 5, 4, 7, 5 on the low E. And then from here we do some kind of arpeggiated picking. So it starts here at the 3rd fret on the A string. With that, you're going to hit the open D and then the open G. Then play the 2nd fret on the A. And now just skip the D string and hit just the open G. So we have that. That's the pattern. Kind of get a little bit of a pause there. We hit that. Now we do that exact same thing, but the notes on the A string are going to be 5 and 3. So. Exact same picking pattern we did with these two. And then you're going to slide into 7, and play 5 on the A, and then slide into 9, and then play 7. All right, and then we get to verse number 2. Now this verse is pretty much just really, you're just playing the 2nd half of the 1st verse is all you're playing. So it's half the length, and it also, that little ending is slightly different. So I'm going to play through it real quick, and then I'll quickly explain that ending that's different from what you've already learned. All right, so shorter. So it's just that little ending. So before, when we held this 9, and then we played that 7, added the 7 on the low E, and then hit that chord again, and then went down to the 2 7s. So that's what's different here. We're going to play first the low E string, obviously low D if you want to call it that, and then 9th fret on the A. So you play that 9, and then hit that low E again with the 7th fret. That little melody moving on the A string. 9, 7 on the A with the open 6 string. And now you basically do the same thing, but now off with holding the 7th fret on the low E string with it. So we still have that 9 on the A, and then the 7. So we have this. And then the same ending as before. So it's that slight little difference right there. And then we get back to the same exact chorus riff, which is played the same way. There's no little no ending to it though there. It just goes straight into the solo section, so it's just in the... It's just 4 times. Then when it gets to that, it's kind of right there, it jumps into the solo section. All right, so the solo section is pretty long. So there's a lot of kind of more rhythm guitar oriented stuff, like kind of riffs being played. And then there's the full solo and stuff, which has got some crazy licks in it. So especially the very, kind of like the last third or maybe the second half of the solo, it branches off into a guitar part that kind of is doing some harmonics and then goes into this like kind of palm muted type thing, palm muted type of riff, arpeggiated riff. While there's another one that does kind of continues with a melody up high with like using the whammy bar and stuff like that. So instead of teaching both parts, I want to kind of just do something that you can do on your own, which is how you're obviously going to be playing. So what Eddie did live is he played this whole section how I'm going to play it, which is starting with this kind of right here out of that chorus, into this, building up the solo section, into the tremolo picking, and then into this crazy tapping stuff and all that stuff. So we do all that, but when we get to that section where it breaks down into the chords, that's where things branch off, and I'm going to play it like Eddie did there. So he would play that opening chord, and then he played the harmonics. And then from the harmonics, he wouldn't go into that whammy bar melody. He'd go straight into those arpeggiated picking kind of muted licks, and he would end the solo of that. So that's what he chose to do when the parts split up. That's how he did it live. So I guess he thought they were the most important. So that's what we're going to do here as well. So let me play through it for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it phrase by phrase. That takes us back to the main riff at the top. All right, so so this first section looks like this. So we have this. You're hitting this second fret on the A string 3 times. Then the low E open, obviously low D open. Can't get it off my mind, right? So the 3 times, then 2, 4. So I have this. Then when so those first 4 notes you've hit 3 times each. Then we have this. There's just open A string twice, 2, then 0. So this. From there we now start kind of the same thing. So we're starting that now, the second fret on the A string, then the open D, 2, 4 on the D. So the same kind of hitting each one 3 times. Then we're going to go over to 2 on the G twice, then 4, then back to that 2. So we have this. and now we start the tremolo picked section. It looks like this. All right, so that section's going to start here. You're going to kind of tremolo picking, so nothing to really talk about much in the right hand except that. You're going to go up the G string for the beginning. So we go from 4, 7, 9, 11, 14, and then 16, 14. So it is. Do it again. All right, from there we go over to back to the 16, over to 15 on the B, 17, kind of hold that a little bit longer, and move it up to shift it up to the 19th fret, and then a step and a half bend there. So all right, then we get to the tapping section, which is crazy. So he's mostly doing, except for a real little quick part of it, he's tapping an octave above the notes that he's playing down the fretboard, so with his fret hand. So this sounds like this. So what's going on here is we're going to have this. So we're playing the 12th, the second fret on the G string, right? And you're kind of bending it up, releasing it, and then bending it back up again, a whole step. And while you're doing that, you're tapping 12 frets above. All right? And then he shifts up here, and he does this melody. Sorry. So this is where it branches off a little bit. So we start here staying with the same down here. So we're at the 7th fret on the G, and we're gonna tap 12 frets up above it. So at the 19th fret here on the G. And then over to the 5th fret there on the B string. So 12 frets above that would be the 17th fret on the B string. You're tapping. And then we're gonna go up here to the 7th fret on the B, so 12 frets up on that is going to be 19 on the B. And now, this right here, what he does is he moves up to the 20th fret with the tap, but he doesn't move this note up to the 8th fret. So it creates a kind of a half-step trill sound. So he doesn't go, not like that. So it's more like, and then from there, you're going to jump up to the 10th fret on the B string. And tap it a few times there at the 22nd fret there on the B. And then into a bend there. So we have this. So you got to really pick up that, kind of creates like a little dissonance there. All right, so pretty odd stuff, but if you listen close, it's there. So then we have another odd lick, which is, you would think would be kind of like, you can use all 4 fingers for this, but he doesn't do that. He does, just use one finger, like your pinky or your ring finger, whatever, and he's tremolo picking. And just going, starting from the 5th fret, going up, kind of to the 9, and then back down, and then now start kind of the same thing, but at the 7th fret, and then at the 8th fret, and then the 10th. So it's a lot easier just doing it with one finger like that. You just need to know kind of where to start. This last one kind of go 10 to 15 back down to so. But the other one's just spanning 4 frets. All right, from there we have this. So that's going to start with an oblique bend. So an oblique bend is when you're holding you're fretting one note. So we have this 15th fret on the high E string, right? That stays the same, but then you play the 15th fret on the B string with it, and you bend that note up a whole step on the B string while keeping that 15 normal on the high E. So you got one note moving and one that's staying stationary. It's an oblique bend. So we have this. Start that. And it sounds like too, it might go to a neck pick up here. So you might want to switch to the neck pickup real quick for that. And then we go into this melody. Kind of really just going 12, 14 on the G string, then quickly over to 12 on the B, and then back to the 12, 14 on the G, pulling off to the open G, and doing a bar dive. So while he's doing those though, you don't have to pick them, so you're just hammering them on here, so you can do a bar dip with each one. All right, so we got that. Next section, and then we have this. All right, so another odd lick. So we're up here at the 22nd fret on the high E string. You do one of those oblique bends again. So we have the 22nd fret on the high E with the 22nd fret on the B together. And you bend up that note on the B string. And then you do a quick little bar dip with it. So with this. And then do the same thing here at the 19th fret. And then the same thing at the 15th. So with this. And then over here at the 14th fret there on the G, and then the 15th with the B, the same lick. So we have this. From here, so the first time after this, we hear the 14th fret on the D and the G double stop together. So that's after this. Okay, so we hit the 14 on the D and the G to the double stops here at the 12th fret on the G and the B. So we have this. And then back to just the 14 on the D, 12 on the G by themselves without double stops. And then a quick little bluesy lick. We're going to slide quickly down from 13 to 12 on the A. And then down to, then play 10, and then play 12, 10 again. And then slide into the 11 on the A, over to 9 on the G. All right, and then we have this kind of really cool kind of jam section, just kind of riff. Him and Michael Anthony and Alex are grooving on. And live, they'll kind of extend this a little bit, but it's a really cool riff. It looks like this. So here, in the actual song, you only hear it kind of play through it completely twice. So that's going to be 2, 6 on the low E, then 2, 4, 2, and then you pick the 4 again, maybe with a little pitch harmonic, slide it to the 5th fret with a lot of vibrato. So this. And then we have this. So we have this. So that's really heavily palmated. 2, 6 on the low E string. Over to 2 on the A string. And then where you do these kind of licks, we have this 5, 2 on the A, 2 on the D, 5 on the A. So with this. So you see that? You might want to hit a lot of these with downstrokes because he has a lot of pinch harmonics he's hitting on these notes. So after you did that 2 on the D to the 5 on the A, roll over to the 5th fret on the G, and that kind of starts it over. So that's the last note, and you start over. So we have this. So when you get back down to that note, after you start it over. So we have this. So you go back into that same riff. So we're kind of almost through the whole riff. So we have this. So it looks like it's starting over, right? But now instead of doing this the second time through, we have this, which is just 7, 5, 2 on the low E, and then slide into 7, 5 again. Shake that 5th fret there. So that's the whole riff together. So we're slowly. Repeat. When you repeat, you might hit that note a couple times to start it. So I kind of like that little ending there. Sort of long, kind of maybe not straight through, just kind of get that little groove going. All right, so that's kind of just that main riff done 2 times through. And here's the section where things kind of split off on the recording. It's really kind of just an interlude section, really. And there's a solo that's kind of going around with like a whammy stuff, but he doesn't do that live. So live instead, he plays this. All right, so now I will say he goes to those harmonics live, but he doesn't play the same harmonics that he does on the album. He just goes into something similar, but he likes to improvise a lot, so he'll improvise with some tap harmonics or whatever. But I'm going to be going into the actual harmonics that are on the recording. So I'm going to start with just an E minor chord. So make sure you don't get the low string in there, since that's not an E string anymore. That's a D. So we have just the 7th fret on the A, 9th on the D, G, and 8 on the B. So just that. And then we go into the harmonics, which would be 12th fret on the B, the 12th fret on the G, and then 7th fret on the B, the 7th fret on the high E, and then 5th fret on the high E, 5th fret on the B, and 7th fret on the B string. So we have this. All right, so that's the first harmonic series. Then we have the next ones, which look like this. So that's just the 5th fret on the G, 7th fret on the B, and then the 12th fret on the high E. That's the natural harmonics. And then to cap it off, we're going to play the 5th fret harmonic on the G again, then 7 on the B again, and resolve that here to the 7th on the G. At this part, when you hit this harmonic, you start hearing the other guitar line pretty loud, so you might not hear, but there's this harmonic underneath it, but you're going to hear another melody note probably louder. You're like, it doesn't sound right, but that is what's the harmonics that are being played there. And then on the downbeat, you're going to come in with this arpeggiated picking section after this. Now the harmonics are done. So what's going on there? It's the same pattern, just done across different arpeggios. So we're going to start here with this E minor. So you want to hold the 9th fret on the D, the G, the 8th on the B, 7th on the high E string. So the pattern is this. You're going to mute the strings, palm mute the strings. So we're going to start with the G string. Then go down to the D string and pick all the way across to the high E string. Then release that high E string to make it an open high E, and then pick that. So we have this. And then go back down, B, G, and then back down to the D. So we have this so far. Now here we go back up, just from that D, back up to the G, B, high E string, and once again you're holding the 7th fret and then you pick the open high E. Then come back down all the way to the D. So that's the full pattern. One more time, starting with the G, then go back down to the D, then it's pretty much up and down. But make sure every time you get to the high E, you're going to hit it twice because you have to do 7, 0. So we have this. All right, now we do the exact same pattern, except we're going to do it with around a D major. So what we're playing here, obviously when we hit that open high E, it's going to be more of a D major add 9 arpeggio, but we're going to play 7 on the D, 7 on the G, 7 on the B, 5 on the high E. And remember that 5 is going to rotate between the open strings still, because the pattern is the exact same, the picking and everything we do. We're just around this different chord shape. So once again, we're going to start on the G string. Just like that. And then do the exact same thing you did here, down 2 frets on this C major. So all together. Now after that, after you get to that C major arpeggio, then we're going to basically, you're kind of going up to the D triad here, across the 7th fret of the G, the B, and the D. I'm sorry, yeah, the G, B, and the D. And pulling off to the C. And you're kind of doing a little bar action on it. And then that takes us back to this kind of similar to the intro, but just shortened after the solo. So like this. So that's just that same riff we started with. Keep everything quiet after that one, and then that second riff. Back to those little muted palm strums, and then we're back to the first riff. And it's basically skipped ahead a little bit later in that intro section to those to where we're playing those double stops. And then skipped ahead. Got the second riff there. That same riff just leading to the A chord. So it's just basically a shortened version. We've learned all of that stuff already, but it's just kind of a condensed version of the intro. So. And then this, when you hold the A, you kind of hold it twice as long this time. And then it gets to the same exact chorus riff we did before. So he continues to play that, and then he starts doing some soloing over it, kind of in F sharp minor. So I'm not going to do that exactly because it kind of fades out pretty quickly. But all you need to play is really F sharp minor pentatonic, and that's all he's using for that solo. So it's just kind of So he's just kind of starting it like that. You know, a pinch harmonic, whatever. And just off just that F sharp minor pentatonic. Kind of like obviously not gonna work there. So just do whatever you want there, and then he does do this really cool thing. I'm not trying to get a note for this section note for note. I just want you to do your own thing, F sharp minor pentatonic. But there is a cool little thing here. What he does, you might want to learn this lick. So it's at the 16th fret on the G. Bend up, release, pull off to 14, then pick 16 on the D and pull off to 14. Kind of do your own thing in F sharp minor pentatonic, and that's what he's doing. It fades out pretty quick, so you don't get much of a solo there, but it's really cool when you, at the very beginning at least. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is my tribute to Eddie on his birthday, and a song about his birth city. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.